In this video, we make an incredibly handsome hexagonal diorama. It looks cool and it's tiny. It's tabletop time.
This is a hexagon. So this is going to be the basis from a video game, Spellforce Conquest of EO.
Hey, they sponsored this video.
They did.
Oh, bloody well, we'll talk about that a bit later then, shall we?
So THQ Nordic, who created Spellforce Conquest of EO, reached out to see if we could make something that embodies their game. We're not the first to do this. You see,
Much to your disappointment.
someone did it a lot bigger and fancier.
Your pitch. We'll do a big tower.
Let's see if anyone else has made something like this. Oh, Nerdforge.
Bloody good video too.
It's really good. It's a really good video. The key to making this as incredible as we can is going to be satisfaction. And tiny things are very satisfying. So we've leaned into that. We have printed the beloved Hexton Hills tiles, and we have, what do we got here? We got a nice keep that's in disarray. We're got either a circus or a sort of like a bandit camp.
As you can see, we've done a little bit of kit bashing here. I've taken a tower and I've just put it inside a sort of an explosion of earth to simulate the fact that the towers in the game can move location.
We've talked a lot. Let's fucking do it. Spellforce is a hex-based game and grid, and it felt like an appropriate reference to that, to have a hex-based board. Plus, I don't know, it seems sort of cool.
Yeah, every quadrant or sector in the game is split into hexes, so having our diorama in this format, same as the game, sort of alludes that there's more to explore just outside the fog of war.
Let's go. Transition. All right, it's hot knife time. Let's cut through this like butter. Basically, the way I approached it, using the scribble I have as a foundation, just sort of carving out the base of the mountains and halving the depth of the interior bits, and then chucking some scraps of foam on top to sort of add and carve the peaks of the mountains. Yeah, and we're blocking it all out so we can get a really clear vision of what our board's going to look like. But actually, the next step is going to be moving on to the paint job.
Oh, that sounds like me.
This video is brought to you by Spellforce Conquest of EO, which is a game that we've been able to sink our teeth into and is really, really fun.
This is a game in the Spellforce lineage of games. It's got a lot of lore.
It's really fun. The world feels huge and it tells you the story as you dive into it. And the turn-based combat is really fun.
You choose one of 3 mage classes.
Necromancer, Artificer,
An alchemist.
we both chose Necromancer.
We did. Clearly the superior.
And the way you level both the smaller troops and your hero, when you lose a unit, you feel
Command all your forces from the safety of your wizard's tower, which you can upgrade, build more rooms to, and basically expand your entire domain from.
and fly around the map in your amazing floating tower to conquer the whole domain.
Spellforce Conquest of EO is a turn-based strategy game, both in the overworld and within the combat itself. The game boasts some gorgeous artwork with full backstories for characters and the cultures themselves. Summon mystical forces, raise the undead, recruit allies from nearby townships, and march your way to victory in your ultimate quest for attaining the All-Fire.
I don't know if I've mentioned this, we're sending it to them. This is actually not fast to keep, this is for them. So we really need it to be good. I hope they love it and I'm so grateful. Thank you for sponsoring this video. Check it out with the link in the description. Spellforce Conquest of EO, it's epic.
Back to the rest of the video.
So I started off by giving everything an undercoat prime and a spritz with the aerosols just to get some colors down. I like to start with a nice mottle of colors just to add a little bit of life, as all these areas would be the focuses of our little bits of civilization, so I want that to be really vibrant and stand out in our field, which itself is going to be really colorful, hopefully.
You could bloody bet your booty it is, but even just getting this down, I love how much the details pop. We've actually, I think, almost doubled or added 50% to the size of the Hexton Hills tiles. They're such satisfying little models that are really going to bring this environment to life. It's so cool having these like little civilizations, little encampments that are going to populate our board.
Yeah, they got a lot of character, and I made sure that I got a variety of fully operational and more derelict, destroyed villages. So clearly some have provoked the ire of the player. Now, lots of the towns and houses populating the map in Spellforce Conquest of EO feature prominent red tile roofs. So I'm going to try and replicate that here, but also to create a bit of variance and perhaps vying factions within this map. I'm going to do some of the other castles in a blue color. So I'm going to put down a foundation of color on each of these, and once these are installed into the map itself, then I'll give it a final highlight to really bring out those tiles. Now, with my paint jobs mostly done, it's time to deliver them to the man in the next room.
I've been waiting.
Cool, because I've just finished those.
I love this bit, I'm so excited. Why do I love it? because things move quick and they just look great. It's so satisfying. We're gonna put your beautiful paint jobs in place, one at a time. So with this enemy dude over here, facing that way.
Yeah, you need to find the sweet spot.
Yeah, and we got our big mountain keep. We're gonna go, there you go, that orientation.
So these towns all haven't been completely finished painting. They're about 70-80% done. A little bit of something gets on them, it's all good. We're gonna go over them with a bit more paint anyway.
I have a strategy for that.
Oh.
As you point out, we've got paint jobs we want to protect. But they're very specific sizes. So you could use these little containers and just pop them over. We've got a few decent small ones. This one is weirdly perfect for this. So it just means, especially in the later stages when we're sprinkling stuff, paint jobs are intact. Next stage is sculpt and mold. And then usually the stage after that is you sort of do paint and glue, and then you do the
Well, the flock and all the
flock
stuff.
Yeah. Being an impatient gentleman,
Oh yeah?
I reckon we can do both at once. Because I reckon if we put paint in the sculptor mold, put that down, and then do immediately a layer of glue with pigment, we can just sprinkle straight away, and in theory it will all dry together.
What could go wrong?
Well, I'm going to admit, it's looking a lot less impressive now. But
Every board needs a good mix of slurry.
Yeah. You got a lot of good slurry.
Alright, here we have the maximum difficulty.
Yeah, geez Louise.
Can you get it in here?
I don't have the most dainty.
Oops, there's a bit on the towel.
Right,
I got it.
Don't judge me.
Or nothing. Now the question is, in hindsight, should we have put all the sculpt mold down and then shove this into the sculpt mold?
Do you know when I was a young lad, I really wanted to learn the violin, and there was someone I knew who played the violin professionally. I was like 10, and I went up to her and said, "I really want to learn the violin one day." She said, "Show me your hands," and I went like this, and she goes, "Nah." I think the other reason I find this so satisfying is so tactile and immediate. Like I feel like a kindergartner who's just gotten a hold of a paper mache project.
Yeah, you get to some active crafting and immediately both get basically a sense that you're creating something and you get the tactile feedback.
With that first layer down, over our first areas, it'll start to set pretty quick, so I can just wet my hand and smooth out. I like the rockiness of the mountains, so I'll leave most of that, and I'm just gonna gently soften these lower areas. It has glue in the mix, and it's got a bit of water in there, which will tie in well with the next step. Next, we're gonna mix two colors, but not as paint, as glue. So, glue first. Roll it there. It can be pretty watery. This one's gonna be brown, and as you can tell, this brown is much earthier.
But it is also close to the earth around the actual villages and encampments, so that works.
Yes, because I don't want the green to be too vibrant. We're gonna protect your paint job, Murray, don't worry. Because we need to be really fast and loose with this. Do a bigger brush, nice and wet, and I'm just going for very wet, dollopy mix, very organic. The trick is I actually want it to be quite wet, because the next step is gonna work better if there's a lot of water in the mix. This 10 minutes ago was foam.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just love that.
A little bit of that. And then haha.
Do you trust me, Murray? Do you trust me?
I've seen Dave walk around my paint jobs, it's fine.
I'm gonna leave this less painted surface up the top, because this grey is gonna be a perfect base for like the snowy peaks of the Rocky Mountains. So the main purpose for this step, aside from adding a bit of glue and water so that the next step will work well, is also just a wash of colour. So as you can see, it's just much more vibrant than our initial sculpt and mold mix. Fun bit!
That wasn't the fun bit?
Oh, it's all the fun bit, Murray! Blended turf, drier grass, a greener grass, bit of brown, like a salt and pepper shaker mode.
Oh, straight on. I love it.
Straight on. Well, that's the thing too. The reason I want it wet is because it's going to soak and absorb and just make it stick. Once it's dry, it's just going to be 100% solid, you know? So we can get a pretty decent coat here, but we don't need to overdo it, because everything that touches it is going to stick.
Everything the flock touches will stick. Simba.
Yeah, and it's satisfying too, because after this step, you'll sort of see 80% of the board done. Interesting thing about this, it's crazy. It's often it is in a later step where you sort of slowly do your blending in layers. But for someone like me who gets satisfaction seeing the changes quickly and doing big steps like this, all the blending is happening in the one step. So satisfying. Brown. As we go higher in the mountains, it's drier.
And then the topmost layer, touching a lot of the glue, but it will touch some of it. But this is basically the finisher off. So I just want to come back with this strong green. And then when it all brushes off, it won't be as strong, but it will also make sure we have a really lush coverage in all our
this will leave some hints of a nice green. Yeah, I get that.
Look at this already. I've just, it's so good.
Extremely reminiscent of the landscape in Spellforce, Conquest of Eden.
The fact that I'm blowing and a lot of it isn't coming off means that will pretty much stick. So when it's dry, we can brush it off quite aggressively, but it will be what you see. And look at that, haven't ruined your paint job.
Well done.
My work here is done. Look at buddy, look at that. So I can't help but notice, Murray, there's a bit of a blank spot there. What do we do with that?
I don't know. I think we might have to have a bit of a wizard's tower there.
So you would not believe the incredible discovery I have made in what I can use to hold up this wizard's tower. It is in fact the Forge World Spruegate cutoffs. I found a use for them. So I think I'm actually going to like hourglass it a bit. So there's the ground that's come up and also formed underneath the wizard's tower itself. So that should get some really nice height and also have pretty strong foundation for it to be on. It's not going to wobble around the place. So yeah, we did it. We found a use. Thank you, Forge World.
Floating effects is always an interesting challenge with miniatures.
Yeah,
obviously things don't really
floating,
float.
but not. You can sort of get away with the illusion of something, nothing underneath. You know, with a flying stand, something you see with model planes or Warhammer models.
It's interesting actually seeing all the different creative ways that model companies create floating effects. You know, whether it be having really long draping, clothes that twirl and are actually holding the model up so the feet are raised above the ground. What are you going for here?
I'm going for the moment just before the castle departs from the earth itself. It's sort of lifted up and it's just about to pull out, like plucking out a weed out of the ground, but it's just holding on, and that is going to be my tether point, which will give structural integrity to this giant balancing castle.
This technically isn't a design of a tower from the game.
No.
Ripping game files isn't something that we're particularly good at or know how to do or should do.
No, it's some legal bits on that.
But fortunately, Hexton Hills have a bunch of different things, one of which is an awesome tower. Like Mario said, he mishmashed with that really cool surrounding thing. But I feel like this is our way of thinking of it as our own little faction, our own invention.
Yeah, we put our own spin on this. We wanted to get as close to the actual model as possible, but we decided, yeah, we'll do our own thing. We added a little diamond at the top that's very reminiscent of the tower in-game, and we went from there.
It's the tabletop time tower.
So I'm going to go over the entire structure with a gradient of greys, getting lighter and lighter as I go, and also a lot more selective about where these highlights will hit. Then I'm going to go back over and select all the areas to pick out in different colors. Now, the Necromancer's Tower boasts roofs that are not quite a purple, not quite a magenta, almost like a mauve color. So I'm going to use some shades and glazes to get that effect. Then I'm going to do a little bit of a glowing effect in the windows, starting with a white to get that nice pop, and then going in with a purple glaze, as the Necromancer is just a little bit creepy and purple is clearly his color of choice. To cap it all off, our tower is holding aloft a giant iridescent blue magical gemstone, perhaps the source of our power or just our focus as we can project our authority across the land. So I'm going to use a number of glazes and shading techniques to really make this stand out and pop, finishing up with a couple of really small highlights of light blue and white. And there we have it, it's done. All the rocks drifting off the base and falling back down to the earth.
Murray! Perfect timing. Oh my god, it's about to all come together. This is all fully dry now. We're just going to get white paint.
Took me a second to realize you made that sound effect.
Get our brush, get it off, and just tap down. Oh, I love this stuff. It just moves.
Channeling your inner Bob Ross here.
This is our world. We can do whatever we want in it. How satisfying is that?
Nice.
So quickly. We want to make sure there's contrast, so we've got to go quite bright at the highest peaks. So we're sort of doing layers of dry brushing, and you want to sort of catch some of the jagged edge details. So it's really sort of fun to have these pockets of civilization that our little tower is discovering. Small things are so satisfying.
That's what she said. Michael.
That's not it yet. We're still going a little bit more. You ready?
I'm so ready. I feel like you're not ready.
Where's the glue?
Which glue? The PVA? That one?
Oh yeah, the giant bottle of PVA right there.
The one you prepared earlier.
Yeah. So we've finally got a bit of contrast in the scene, but it's still a little sparse in the middle. Obviously, that's because we're missing Giant Wizard's Tower. Uh-oh. Sorry, Murray.
It must fit. That's right. It was all planned. This is why we used the corkboard.
Does it scare you when I have Power Tools New York creations that you spent hours on? I feel like that's pretty center.
Yeah.
It's a little tippy, so we need to probably fill under here a touch. Oh no. Something like that. So obviously that sort of helps create a very clear point of focus. I think the thing that's really going to help bring this together, aside from a few finishing touches throughout, is a bit of forestry. This will also help where, like, if we have a few little gaps, I can just dump on some glue and use our coarse turf. And this we can literally just drop on top because a lot of it will brush away, but anything touching it will stick to it and look like a forest, hopefully. I want it to be quite thick because this will gloop to it. Anywhere this stuff touches will hopefully turn into a little forest. How satisfying is this? I love working with tiny things.
That's what she said.
Very nice.
It's a great masking tool too. Like it helps fill in the detail. So we do things like, points of interest, but there are other places where you think, okay, that looks a bit like I've shoved a hexagon print in there. So we can use it to sort of disguise.
Break up the shapes a little bit.
And then you also have some trees happening in here and we can sort of merge them together with ours.
Now I have all these, I guess you'd call them points of interest.
Yeah, there you go. Beat me to it.
Yeah, so as the game unfolds and the fog of war is sort of revealed and dispersed, you find all these little encounters that you can go and explore, dilemmas that you can craft your journey from.
I'm just going over the castle and just pulling up the mauve purple because it's not really standing out against everything. That's the issue with painting something separately. It's not standing out enough and you just need to go over it again. It's a little bit trickier, but I'll get a better idea of how it looks. I'm going to finish that up and then I think there might be some reveals.
And as much as the game is really sort of centered around a lot of the progression, combat, and story, there's a huge exploration element that I find really fun because the world's constantly unfolding and you really don't know what will be behind the next mountain pass. Is it a friendly village or a new enemy tower? And these things sort of appear every now and then. You get these story elements or moments where a monster or an entire township will react in a certain way or come out of nowhere. So we wanted to represent that through having a variety of different tiles, not all just towns or forts. There's something about this epic scale where you can see all the full mountain range and the whole town and the roads between them. It's so satisfying.
It's a sensation of looking down from the stratosphere at this tiny little world. It's really, really satisfying.
With everything finally in place, Murray went through and added just those little pops of highlights and colour. This sort of thing makes such a big difference.
Yeah, I'm the sort of person who likes to paint everything all at once as a whole, but we painted everything individually. So once we've placed all these towns and the castle itself on the diorama, some of the details were just lost a little bit, so we need to bring them up a bit to make them stand out.
And tying that all in together just works so well. This is one of the more satisfying board builds that we've made. It's just so satisfying and tiny.
And we don't even get to keep this ourselves, but I really hope the guys over at Spellforce really enjoy this and the love and joy that we put into this.
Now, a floating tower is a fairly unique vibe, especially when in the game it moves around. It's kind of surreal. It's very cool. And that turns into a mechanic where moving your entire bastion is the way to sort of explore the world.
Yeah, it takes a bit of upgrading to get to, I believe, but once you've unlocked that, it opens up a new world of strategy.
I've floated around. It's pretty fun.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
I missed it.
It's super cool. Yeah, no, well, actually, you can upgrade the tower in different ways. So you might have picked a sort of different path to me, but I saw a path to floating tower and I went there pretty quick.
Nice.
And as you upgrade, it unlocks a bunch of different stuff that you can access, including different crafting recipes. And we both picked necromancy.
Yeah, there was zero discussion or planning between us, which is probably a terrible idea to experience all the different routes in the game. But hey, why'd they have to make necromancer look so cool?
Now, if you thought that project was handsome, wait till you see all our bloody patrons.
Look at all those lovely names.
Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for your support. Our patrons make this entirely possible. And there's awesome perks for becoming a patron.
Yes, if you join with our patron, you get exclusive access to our patron Discord, where we talk about literally anything from new events in the world of miniatures, scenics, hobbies, and you can even join our monthly mini review where you can upload your works and we can share our journey through the hobby together.
We share our work, you share yours. It's a good old bloody miniature good time, but in a big way.
It's a big, small, good time.
Yeah, it's good. And the most direct way to support us. I don't know what to say other than this is really cool.
It looks
cool.
amazing.
It's so satisfying. I feel like it should be viewed front on like hex-wise.
Yeah.
That's a satisfying hex.
Nice.
I feel like we've made a giant Hexton Hills thing. You know, they have the little ones and we've just made one big one.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying.
Like a babushka doll of Hexton Hill.
Oh my God, I just can't help but get sucked into this.
No, this looks like it came straight out of the game. We've got all the little areas we can run off and explore and conquer, enslave, or liberate.
And bloody stunning painting as always, Murray. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. Huge thank you to Spellforce Conquest of EO for sponsoring this video. It is a really fun game. So go check it out with the link in the description.
Consider subscribing, hitting like, or commenting below on your favorite part of our adventure.
You know, I don't think they have it in them. I don't think you.
Are you challenging them?
Or do you?
Have you already done it?
Prove me wrong.
Have you
Smash
not
that
waited?
like button. Thanks for watching, guys. This was so much fun.
See you in the next adventure.